Okay, these are my Type 56 SKS rifles I received from Classic Firearms on Friday. They were ordered about the Friday before, January 24th, I think, and took right out a week to get here from North Carolina. Of course, they were having some bad weather out there too, and there was a big rush the day they went up for sale. The one on the top is a Sino-Soviet, I think 1956. I'm not an expert on that. The magwell and trigger numbers match. The bolt carrier and the bolt match, but they do not match these two numbers. So most of the gun is Soviet, and I don't have the oil can in the picture, but it came with a Russian oil can and that leather cleaning pouch. So near as I can tell, bluing is about 50 to 60%. It's better back on this metal. And of course, the dust cover is Chinese. From what I've seen, understand that's most Sino-Soviet. And then you can see it's basically shiny metal up front, all the way out to the bayonet. The one on the bottom is a numbers matching, and I think it is a 1957. The first number is a 1, so if I understood what I've read correctly, 1 plus 56 means that the one on the bottom is a 1957. I did some unboxing stills, but did decosmolating last night and this morning on both these rifles, and test fired them this morning. They both shoot flawlessly and seem like they're shooting pretty straight. You can see the stocks are about the same. The top rifle had a little bit of rust up on the inside of the trigger group. It cleaned up with solvent and oil. Otherwise, it was just basic decosmolating. And I'd say these are probably about average. I did not pay for numbers matching or cosmetic condition, so I can't really complain. Classic's customer service is great. And these are my first SKSs. And admittedly, when they were still in the cosmoline, I thought they were a little bit ugly. And I had to kind of take a step back and wait till I got them cleaned up. And honestly now, because one's mine and one's going to a family member, I'm actually sitting here trying to decide which one I like better. If I want the partial Soviet gun or this one on bottom that maybe is the one on the bottom there, the one that I believe to be all Chinese and numbers matching, is a little bit tighter on the magwell and the bayonet spring, but both guns are shooting fine. And in fact, I still have to tear the lower bolts down to free up the firing pins, because the firing pins are not floating right now. However, the gun's fired, and I even attempted to slam fire and they would not slam fire. And I read somewhere that some very early Type 56s had fixed floating pins, I thought, but at any rate I'm going to tear the bolts down. I said fixed floating, I meant fixed pins. I'm going to tear the bolts down just to make sure they are, if they are supposed to be floating pins, that they are nice and floating, to avoid to minimize any chance of slam fire. But probably about 3 hours cleanup on each gun, but I was pretty detailed about it. And admittedly, I started with the one on top, which was a little bit harder to get apart, and had no prior experience with SKSs, and was going off of YouTube videos myself as far as the teardown. So, you know, naturally the second one went a little bit faster. Anyway, pretty happy with them. $3.19 a piece plus shipping. And I had to go through an FFL since I don't have a CNR license. Nonetheless, good guns, good shooters, and pretty happy to have my first SK while you can still get your hands on them.